Well, what have we here? Traveling through the area, huh? The name is Sheldon, and I am a raider. You're lucky I don't rob you just for stopping in. It would seem you've caught me in a good mood and at a good time. You see, the crew I've been running around with isn't exactly what I would call profitable, or useful for that matter. We've set up camp in some pre-war infrastructure, and we've been stuck here for quite some time. Nobody wants to move off this mountain, and nobody wants to share their share of the loot from our latest heist. Psst. The thing is, kid, I'm looking to go into business for myself, if you know what I'm saying. Shoo! Well, that took a hot moment, but I think I killed all of them. What's that? Noise? Oh, that's just my pet cricket here. His name's, well, Pet Cricket. Now, don't let looks deceive you. I know he's a little cutie patootie, but he is one hell of a fighter when it comes to a tussle. Oh, who's a good boy? That's right, Cricket is. You want a little bit of mole rat flesh, buddy? Well, Cricket, old buddy, old pal, looks like it's just you and I now. The way it started and the way it's always gonna be. Let's do this. It's time that we walk our happy little asses off this mountain and start heading a bit south. Near the river here, I found some pre-war wreckage. It appears to be some type of ACP vehicle. The closer I got to it, the more it tickled my strands of DNA, but I ended up finding some useful resources and items inside, and on the outside I found myself a nice brain bucket, as well as a little bit of ammunition. If I find a shotgun, these shells will be quite useful. For now, they'll just stay in the box, I guess. As I began making my way further south, going through some more pre-war infrastructure, I would end up finding more ammunition, a Molotov cocktail, and even a short pipe rifle. Similar to the pistol that we currently have, but much more accurate and much more long range. Just what the doctor ordered, fending off foes from a distance, a raider's wet dream. With my new rifle in tow, I would continue my journey, and in the distance, I could see what appeared to be some type of settlement or base of sorts, and upon approaching further, it looks to be a farm. An occupied farm, at that. Don't get me wrong, I have no sense of morality, and I'm willing to kill every single person within this farm to take it, as it would be the perfect base, but I don't know how many of them there are, so it might be better for me to return at nightfall. But I can still explore the general area here in search of useful items to help me in my conquest of slaughtering a farm family. I ended up coming to a Red Rocket truck stop where I found a dog. Pet Cricket didn't really seem to like him though, so we're gonna leave him here. Moving on. I scoured the entire truck stop and I ended up finding some useful buttercup things that had some screws in them, which was just perfect, as I also detected a weapons workbench. All these things combined would allow me to put a scope on my pipe rifle. Using this, we'll really be able to pick people off from a distance, and we might be able to scout out that farm a little bit better to see how many folks are there. It was afternoon now, and the sun was starting to get a little bit lower in the sky. I was coming to hide in some foliage so I could scout the place out. If my basic math is correct, it would seem that there's 2 in the front yard and 1 in the back. Now we just wait for the cover of night and we should be good to go. Yes, Cricket, I'm aware that slaughtering a family of farmers is not a nice thing to do, but we need their farm for our base. Now, will you please just rest? Well then, I think that did the trick. Could I have been a bit more sneaky with it? Yes I could, but I wasn't. And now we have 3 dead farmers and everything they own. Quite literally the clothing off their backs and their entire farm. Oh, and best of all, we even have our very own pet cat. Hello there, little friend. Sorry about killing your well, entire family, but I am going to take really good care of you. Actually, the very next day, Pet Cricket ended up killing it and started eating it. Oopsie daisy. But before that happened, we started taking a look around our very own brand spanking newly acquired base that we got for killing a bunch of innocent people. But it's still ours. All ours, I might add. As I gaze out into the fields of potatoes, all I can do is imagine all of the shitty and shabby little raider huts that we can put out there, and all of the folks that we can add to our gang under my command. But there is a lot of work to be done, so we'll need to get some shut-eye. Good night for now. Such a beautiful sunny morning here on our irradiated rock. Time for us to get to work cleaning this place up a bit. But first I have a pile of dead farmers that I need to dispose of. Yeah, that's the word. Dispose of. Oh, I also gotta get rid of this dead cat. Pet Cricket's been chewing on it all night. Can't be good for his teeth. A few hours later, and the place was already looking much better. I got rid of those filthy fields of potatoes a-growing and a bunch of bushes and other rubble and things that was lying around, and we have a pretty, well, fairly clean farm. At the very least, we know for sure it's ready to start taking in my gang of raiders. Once we find them. On the contrary, they could come to us if we were to build a beacon that would send out a radio signal to any and all who were willing to join our cause and gang. The only problem currently is we don't really have the resources. Luckily for us, I know of a nearby town, a gas station, and even a vault in the hills around the surrounding area that has plenty of resources, and I do mean plenty. But before we head to those places and start stripping them of their resources, I thought that I might take a little stroll into Concord, a pre-war city. I immediately heard the sounds of gunfire, and I watched a few raiders get eviscerated by a laser beam. There was a gentleman standing atop a city hall, I think is what it was, and they were all killing each other. Anyways, I just started looting some buildings and tried not to pay them any mind. They were awful loud, but I found plenty of ammo, a few weapons, I even found some duct tape, and a few other different things like cups and fans, and, you know, some other interesting things, I suppose. Perhaps some of the most useful items, though, were on the raiders themselves. After the gentleman who blasted them between the eyes with a laser musket went back inside, of course. I'm trying to keep a low profile, but we don't mind any second-hand items like weapons and armor, of course, and these will be perfect for my own raider gang, so don't mind if I do. Before I came back home, I actually ended up going to the Red Rocket truck stop, deconstructing a lot of different stuff for items and resources, and making a very slow walk back home before the clip you're seeing now, so you wouldn't have to bear watching that slog through the woods. With these resources in hand, I built a generator, and I also ended up building the beacon, giving us some power, not only for the base and all of our lighting, but also powering the beacon itself, sending out radio waves across the Commonwealth and the Wasteland, calling on any and all who wish to join us here. Oh, and as you can see, I also got myself some spiffy armor, mostly comprised of scrap metal and tin cans, but I think it's quite fitting, along with the eye patch and army helmet. As I was admiring my new attire, we ended up getting our very first raider joining us. Well, she's not quite a raider just yet, just a simple settler in these lands, but with a bit of elbow grease and a push in the right direction, we'll turn her into a devious ne'er-do-well in no time. You'd be surprised who people will kill for a little bit of food and a place to stay. Or maybe you wouldn't, I don't know, but a good place for us to start would be some proper weapons and armor for her, so we spared her some scrap metal armor and also a few pipe weapons, and we gave her a guard position atop our mighty tower. A great role for her, as she'll be able to tell us if there's any opposing opposing raider groups trying to sneak up on us, or perhaps a deathclaw, or quite literally anything that might want to do us harm. Now that we finally got our gang started, even though it's just me and her, and also Pet Cricket, of course, I think it is time that I build myself a proper home, though, which after gaining a good bit of steel, wood, and concrete, I immediately began working on, and I am pretty darn happy with how it turned out. Now, the top section is going to be my living area. Right now, at the time of recording, I'm not sure what I'm going to make the bottom just yet. But up top you'll notice I have my very own bed. No more laying out on the ground on, well, just the ground normally, or even in a sleeping bag. That's right, we have a proper mattress with a frame. And I have a few, amenities next to my bed at night in case I get a little parched. And in the time it took me to throw together my little shit shack here, we have yet another settler who has joined us looking to become a filthy f***ing raider. So I tossed a shotgun into his hands and I let him guard the front of my house, but I would have to change this shortly thereafter because it turns out people actually need food to stay loyal. Who would have guessed? Either way, they seem pretty tickled for this opportunity.
Thank you for your help. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Go grow some potatoes so you don't starve, please. While our two newest members of the gang are tending to our new base, I decided to take another little stroll into town. Not Concord this time around, but Lexington, much larger with more opportunity. Opportunity for me to kill, and also steal. I killed some feral ghouls, looted some places, and made my way to the top of a nearby building where I spotted in the distance a raider gang arrival. Raider gang, I might add. Something tells me these fellows have no interest in joining our gang. Oh well. These gunshots apparently alerted a small group of feral ghouls in the rubble, which kinda sucked, but Pet Cricket and I eventually would end up taking care of them fairly easily. But then I noticed that the raider in the power armor didn't really want to come down. I started sniping at him and he almost blew himself up. Almost, that is. I destroyed their automated defenses and then he decided to flank me. A genius move. Except for the fact that he had almost blew himself up and almost killed himself, and then I found him laying dead. My best guess is that Pet Cricket might have bit him on the kneecap, finishing the job. I'm not really sure. Either way, though, we could loot his corpse, and we ended up getting a fat man from it. I think that this puts us at least a little bit higher on the raider food chain, if you ask me. We could also strip him of his power armor, which was great, except for the fact that the frame was completely in shambles, and we wouldn't be able to take it. But that wouldn't be a very big problem for very long. On our way back home, I encountered the railroad tracks with some derailed shipping containers, one of which appeared to contain a caged item. A power armor frame with a little bit of T45 on it already. And it was all ours, baby. What were the chances that we would get raider power armor in Lexington, and then just on the outskirts of Lexington there just so happened to be a derailed train? It's almost like somebody looked it up online. Anywho, though, we walked our happy ass and our power armor back to the base, and might I just say that we look very intimidating and foreboding, although we would look much better with a nice new paint job as well as all the armor in a complete set. I mean, it's not a perfect set. Of course, we're kind of mismatching, but it's still great. Oh, and by this point, I had also converted the bottom floor of my home into a nice bar for all of our newest Raider members who have been joining us and all those who will be joining us in the future. Just a nice place for them to take the edge off for the evening, or possibly during the day, if they want to do a bit of day drinking after washing the blood off their hands, that is. It also works as a good way for me to gain the trust of my newest members, as I am quite literally giving them a piece of my home. But enough of that, it's time for us to be out adventuring once more. we're on a bit of a mission. Word has it from some of the folks who have been joining us, there is a rival raider gang not too far from our base. Hole up in some pre-war satellite relay or some shit, I don't really care. All I actually care about is slaughtering these rival gang members until there's none of them left, along with Pet Cricket, of course. After killing quite a few of them on the surface, I realized this place was an absolute dump, and this couldn't be the extent of the base. They must have traveled underground, hiding from me. But they won't be hiding for long. I quickly and cautiously began making my way through the relay facility, crushing mongrel dogs and skulls, all like melons, all the same. But eventually, during my little excursion here, I came across the main leaders, who just so happened to have a great big minigun. After a few Molotov cocktails, though, I think we were golden, pony boy. And now comes the best part. With them dead, that means the minigun is all mine, baby. Oh, imagine the looks on their faces when I bring this home. I also found the generator for the entire facility. I think this might be better off in my pockets. And then I watched the little sphincter turn gray. There was some kind of top secret room up top in the facility, and they even had a nice little miniature nuclear bomb, which would go perfect with my launcher that I got. Oh, I gotta tell you, things are really looking up for your favorite Raider King / Overlord / leader, whatever you want to call me. These new items are really gonna help us out with our conquest of the Wasteland. I also started building some walls all around our facility here. That way we could try to avoid any retaliatory strikes from rival raider gangs. Mostly around the back of the base here, where we also actually have 2 separate areas for some of our own members to watch out all around the perimeter, keeping us safe and sound. This new section of our community actually comes equipped with something of a teeny trailer park in the making, I suppose you could say, as well as a barn. This might seem a little uncharacteristic for raiders, but raiders have to eat too, and stealing food only works about half the time because, well, sometimes you gotta grow the shit, alright? And whether the potatoes are fresh from the farm or soaked in somebody else's blood, they taste all the same. Kind of. Now, what are we keeping in this barn? Well, we have some irradiated fish from some nearby ponds and streams, as well as a great big behemoth of a Brahmin. You might be asking yourself, where the hell did you get one of those? Well, in my travels, I met a trader, and he had all sorts of animals. Cats, Brahmin, a little bit of everything, and, he, didn't need it anymore, because I shot him in the head. During this time, I also came across a group of gunners. They weren't exactly raiders. Actually, as a matter of fact, they were much tougher. Tough as nails, one might even say. I had to empty an entire clip from my pistol and rifle just to get rid of a few of them and their damn dirty turrets. Now, you might wonder why I even troubled myself with this. Well, even though they're not raiders, they are competition all the same. And since their weapons and other gear were much better than our own, if I were to say pry it off their corpses, I could give it to my own crew. But first, I found yet another fusion core, and I must watch this sphincter turn gray again. That's the stuff. As I was traveling back home, I ran into something rather disturbing. But also, one might say that I hit the jackpot. The largest rival raider gang base within our vicinity. Taking them out would really put us on the map, giving us quite the reputation. But not only that, it would also clear out any chance of them attacking us within the near future. There's just one little problem though. These raiders are much more well armed and armored than any of our gang. We'll need to prep ourselves first and foremost. Something tells me that running into here with our hunting rifle and pet cricket wouldn't really intimidate them. Look at these tacky heads on spikes. Ugh. Yeah, we get it. You're raiders. Okay, so after returning home, maybe I started decorating our raider base with skulls on spikes all over the place. You know what? Look, I should have done this earlier. They have the right idea, but we're still going to kill them. And since we're back home with all of our new goodies from the gunners who no longer needed these items, we went ahead and gave them to our gang members. Damn, looking spiffy old chap, especially with the... ooh, shades. Anyways though, it's about damn time we killed those other bastards, so I've geared up one of my top favorite gang members, and she is going to come with me, and well, we are going to go on quite the slaughter fest, aren't we? Yes, we are. Just in case things get a little bit too hairy in there, it's only going to be the two of us. And Pet Cricket, of course. Without a sliver of hesitation or doubt, the three of us would set out to this rival base, looking to wipe them all out. Alright folks, it's time to earn that reputation we so desperately want as a Raider King. And you know what? We might even crack a few skulls and break a few femurs while we're at it. As I approached, I spotted some turrets. So, first things first, getting rid of their automated defenses. Fight your own damn battles, you cowards. I spotted another of these little metal headaches on top of the roof, and as I was dealing with it, I got an unpleasant surprise. I should have guessed they had some power armor of their own, and this fellow just bonked me on my noodle. Ah, desperate times, as they say. That'll do, that'll do. Now with their mightiest warrior and their secret weapon taken care of, nothing would stop my rampage. During my slaughter, though, I would come upon a pretty interesting fighter. Apparently the locals consider this fella to be legendary. They say legends never die. Well, we'll just have to see about that now, won't we? Ah, just as I had hypothesized. We just put that fella on the back of a t-shirt. Who's next? Well, turns out nobody. Nobody up here, at least. I'll tell you what, though, the other guy had a pretty interesting weapon, some type of laser musket. Don't mind if I do. Nobody was left up here, but it looks like they have a basement. Don't mind if I take a little peek-see, do ya? Anybody home? As I was using my minigun to transform these folks into red mush on the ground, I spotted the back room back here that was pretty heavily defended. Thought to myself, well, this must be where they store all the good drugs. And it was, but there was much more than that. This must be where their leader stays, going by the name of Red Tourette. Well, I don't know about all that, but I just turned her into a stain on the ground. Oopsie poopsie. Pet Cricket liked her a lot better now that she was a corpse. Not to worry though, Red Tourette is forever in our hearts, and she will continue living on through her armor and her fat man that I found in the facility, and they're both now in my bedroom, on display where they belong. God, it feels good to be king. Anyway, I expanded the walls all around our little raider town here, and as you can see, it encompasses the entirety of the base. I'm feeling safer already. Now the entrance to the compound is a great big gaping hole in the wall, but thanks to our eagle-eyed friend here and our very own turrets, anybody that comes in here without an invite's gonna be leaving in several teeny little pieces. But you know what, as impregnable as that previous design was, I thought that maybe it could use a little bit of an upgrade, and I'm much more happier with it now. And I kinda forgot that I was trying to kill a bunch of other raiders, and I went on a big old building spree. But I suppose every Raider King needs a Raider Kingdom, right? And mine just so happens to be a glorified trailer park, but I'm pretty happy with it. By this point, our gang has hit double digits. I think we're at about 12 or maybe 13, and you know, that's not much of a kingdom, but in the Wasteland, when there's hardly any babies being born, it's basically a whole damn country. Anyways, we got all the trailers where everybody lives. Some pretty luxurious homes compared to the rest of the Commonwealth, I'd say. And we got another great big tower right in the middle, which is basically just a big power plant as it's generating all the electricity for our little city base here, and that's about it. Except for the bottom floor floor, actually, as I turned that into a pretty basic standard power armor garage for the time being. We had to have somewhere safe to store it, but as I look out over my city of ne'er-do-wells and everything that I have built and all those that I govern, I feel content. I'm not saying that I'm done robbing and killing and also murdering other raiders, but I feel pretty happy with what we've built. Alright, see you later. Well, what do we have here? The name is Sheldon, friendos, and I'm what you might call a Raider King. This is my home. I and my crew built it with our own 2 hands from the ground up. Sure, it used to be a farm, and we stole it from whoever lived here before, and we slaughtered them and accidentally killed their cat. No big deal. Don't be such a baby. We eat worse things than cats out here. Besides, this city is soon to be the raider capital of the Wasteland. You mark my words. Yep, we're a real up-and-coming marvel of the Commonwealth. We'll be twice the size of Diamond City in a few years. You just wait and see, buddy boy. We got it all. Running rainwater, we grow potatoes out back, we have mystery stew on Wednesdays. Oh, and I almost forgot, my best friend and companion through it all, Pet Cricket. He's a devious little bastard, best you not make eye contact with him. Yep, we've put a lot of work into this place and into becoming one of the most prominent raider gangs this side of the Commonwealth, but between you and I, that ain't big enough for me. But there's so many more things to steal and so many more people to kill. And that's exactly why I and Pet Cricket, as well as our unnamed raider companion, are going to be setting out on yet another adventure to conquer the Commonwealth. First things first, we're gonna head to Lexington. Word has it there's a pretty big operation of rival raiders down that way. Upon our arrival atop a roof, we noticed one of them, most likely just a scout guarding the perimeter. If she were to see us, she'll tip the entire damn gang off. We know what we have to do. One of our favorite pastimes. As we got rid of their filthy watchdogs around the perimeter of the city's entranceways, we made our way to the center and heart of Lexington itself. And it was there we found the Corvega plant, a pre-war vehicle factory. Pull up there, the rest of the raiders. The perfect place for a gang. God only knows how many resources are inside there to make pipe rifles and scrap armor. It would be perfect for us instead, but rumor has it they've been here for quite some time. No doubt they're really dug in deep. Well, guess we're just gonna have to go in and pry them out by their cold, dead feet, eh? That's normally how we like to operate anyhow. Besides, not only do we need to take the plant, but we have to make an example out of them. They're one of the largest raider gangs in the area. In the city of Lexington, they are the biggest gang. We have to make sure that everyone knows that we beat the absolute shit out of them, maybe tortured a few of them, and also blew the other one's brains out. You understand. We would quickly deal with most of their people on the roofs and out front, and then we started making our way out back. By this point, Cricket was feeling all sorts of frisky with these raiders, and I was putting old Sweet Lips to the test. That's what I call my double-barrel shotgun. Sorry. Looks like we've cleared out all the raiders out here, though. Time to go inside the plant. On the inside, things were a little bit different. We were in the lion's den at this point. We would have to be a lot more careful with how we proceeded. So I just started chucking Molotovs and shooting fellas in the head. You know, it kind of works out for me most of the time, and funny thing is, it ended up working out for me this time too. Eventually, I made my way to the top of the Corvega plant. And there he sat, a handsome, well-armored fella drinking an ice-cold beer. Yep, that's him. That's their king. Well, that was their king. What's left of him is lying over there now. As I'm sure you could surmise, the crew was none too tickled that I had just turned his head into a canoe from a good distance and they were trying to kill me now, along with their automated defenses. At one point, I ended up getting myself into a bit of a pickle. It looks like I'm pinned down. No way in, no way out. I'm gonna have to switch things up, I guess. Ah, Never mind. It would seem shooting my way out, the old tried and true strategy, worked after all. We had finally won. And best of all, the Corvega plant was ours. There was nobody left to contest my right to this place. Isn't that right, false Raider King Jared? Ah, pay no mind to him. He's just being shy, I think. Cricket's got his tongue. No, like, for real. Now that the Corvega assembly plant is finally ours, that means that Lexington is finally ours as well, since it is the centralized stronghold of the entire city. Perhaps most importantly, we now control a massive portion of metallic resources in the region. And thanks to the mobile workshop, we'll actually be able to go throughout the plant and out around the plant in the streets, scrapping anything and everything we can get our hands on. Now I know what you're saying, why would you even bother yourself with such a thing? Well, my friends, we ended up using these resources to build our very own settlement here at the plant. If you thought we were just going to stay back at the capital, then you're a buffoon. When I said we were going to conquer the Commonwealth, I meant it. For now, our settlement here at the plant is going to be quite small, as we can only afford to send a handful of men, so they basically have a makeshift camp. But I feel that our people, as well as some automated turrets, should be able to hold down the fort sufficiently. Realistically, we only care about keeping the plant, not the entire city. And now that we've cleared out the largest gang in the city, there's nobody big enough to take it back from us. Obviously, this is a ginormous accomplishment, but it is a drop in the bucket for what we have planned. Come, let us continue our conquest. We would continue our travels due south, as we had heard of many other rival gangs and unorganized factions that need taking care of. During our travels, we would come upon a scavenger camp and or shop here in the infrastructure. Interestingly, this seemed to be some type of small business or startup here in the Wasteland. These scavengers had a lot, and I do mean a lot, in their inventory. Crafting materials galore. Sure, we just took over the plant and we have all sorts of metallics and whatever, but we could always take more. Besides, they have all sorts of weapons and ammo and everything and anything, oodles upon oodles. And the coup de grace of it all, a set of scavenger power armor. Oh my. But they were asking far too steep of a price for it. What to do? Yes, Pet Cricket, I suppose that could work. Let's give it a shot at least. Hey there! Glad you're finally awake. Guess you passed out from all the excitement. Well, good news, the nice scavenger man and I came to an agreement. Yep, he sure drives a hard bargain, that's for sure. Yeah. Anyways, grab his feet for me, will you? Yep, pleasure doing business with you, pal. Alright, now that the party pooper's taken care of, let's get into this sweet, succulent scavenger power armor. Oh, wow. It's so much better than our own. I know they look similar, but it's kind of like the difference between a cheeseburger and a burger without cheese. Just not the same. Before we go, though, just one little thing. Alright, let's get a move on before any more scavengers come back. Uh-oh, too late. Worst of all, it would appear that this is going to be a power armor v power armor. We decided to go fisticuffs as that was the fairest route of all. Thanks to my ally shooting them in the back with their laser pistol, we would end up winning the day. It would seem that the power of friendship has prevailed. Well, I suppose I don't mind having 2 sets of scavenger power armor, if you insist. As our journey continued throughout the infrastructure, we wouldn't encounter any more scavengers. It was much worse than that. We came upon yet another gunner encampment. It's been a hot minute since we fought any gunners, but if memory serves, they're normally pretty well armed and armored. And worst of all, given their current encampment, they have the upper hand. They're like a delicious little walnut hiding in their shell. Pet Cricket, unnamed raider companion, these types of missions normally require a certain sneaky type of je ne sais quoi. We would wait until dark, and then we would try to go in and maybe snipe a few people, that sort of thing, but I have a different idea. If you just stick with me here and allow me the creative freedom, eh? Oh yeah, works every time. I've never been let down by a mini nuke. Oh, editor's note here. I know it looks like I killed Pet Cricket, but he was fine. I actually didn't even notice. Anyway, though, using the rifle I got from the scavengers, I started lighting the damn place up like the 4th of July, and I really do mean it. God, I couldn't get enough of this bad boy. Little did I know. Yes, that's right. These gunners had their very own assaultron, and even in power armor, needless to say, I was quite frightened of this pre-war machine that was designed to turn my insides into strawberry jam. I came dangerously close to getting liquefied inside this tin can, but one more little swing, and she was down for the count, thank God. Now with their secret weapon inoperable because of my great big metallic fist, all I had to do was go to the bottom and finish off the few gunners that remained. Once they were cleared out, this place was as good as ours. The gunners worked so hard on this place, it would just be so unfair of us to torch it all, or to scrap it all, or worst of all, leave it for other raiders to find. Yeah, no thanks. We called in some of our boys and girls from the capital, and needless to say, it looks like we have a new stronghold. It's no pre-war factory with oodles upon oodles of resources like the Corvega plant, but I suppose it will help us control trade in and out of this area with scavengers and others who always move through here, so better than nothing. Now that our conquest is off to a killer start, pun intended, I think it's time for us to head back home just for a little bit. As much as I love conquering the Wasteland and slaughtering our enemies, nothing feels quite as warm and fuzzy as being home. First things first, putting our brand new power armor in a proper stand. We'll be working on that later. As for right now, I have something I'd like to show you. This, dear friends, is my office. Yes, yes, take it in all its glory. Unfortunately, my friends, being a Raider King isn't all bloodshed and glory. No, sometimes there's a bit of pencil pushing. Especially nowadays, we have to keep up with trade routes and shipments to the city and blah blah blah. Truth be told, though, I often get my best work done in this part of my office. And sometimes I like to get to work before the sun even rises, you know what I'm saying? Oh, come on. I'm literally a cold-blooded murderer. Alcoholism is the least of my problems. I just thought it might be cool to stop in, though, and show you some of the collectibles I'm adding to my office as we conquer the Wasteland, like a bobblehead from the Corvega plant, as well as a nice model car. Oh, and also what was left of Jared's skull. You remember the false Raider King from the plant as well? I glued it back together. I couldn't find the top part, though. Oh, and last but not least, I found this axe along the way at some point. Doesn't it just give off a kingly, bow down or I'll murder you type of vibe? I think so too. Moving on though, an issue that we faced here at the city is the fact that many of our people were still wearing some shabby ass cloth and ragged clothing with pipe weaponry. This just will not do. If you want to be the best, then you have to be able to beat the best. And to do that, we're going to have to evolve past the shabby scrap metal armor and pipe weapons. As you can see, I started handing out some of the laser weaponry that we picked up in our travels, as well as some better Raider armor to everyone. Now this is much more befitting of the greatest Raider gang to ever bless the Wasteland. Us, of course. Now then, our little murderous paradise, our capital city here, is up and coming and growing still more and more every day, and as such, we have a growing population. Yet we're running out of room where to put so many houses for everyone. Not to worry though, as I've built quite a large area for some slums. This is going to be a nice place for many of our newer and, less important raiders to stay. Example, perhaps you have a raider who's joined the gang and isn't exactly the best shot, isn't exactly good at doing anything, and they're more of a, say, expendable. This would be the perfect place. Unlike our glorified trailer park in the middle of the city, the slums are just barely hanging on by a thread. Quite literally, in some cases, as these shacks are putrid and disgusting. As you could guess, us recruiting other raiders into our ranks does mean that we're going to get quite a few people who might just so happen to be addicted to some harder substances. These slums are also a perfect place to keep some of those folks. It's basically a great big jet den where they can cook it up on their own and will be way too high to realize that they're all just cannon fodder. Not to worry though, we've really upped the security in this part of the city, and we can't just let these little ne'er-do-wells, these shifty and sneaky folks, be left to their own devices. They could cause an uprising to try to overthrow me, and I won't have anyone standing in the way of everything that I've built and everything that I'll be taking for my own. Now that we've taken care of some of the boring bureaucratic issues of the city and our empire, let's get back on the road. First things first though, before we leave, we need to start working on our new scavenger power armor. It looks good, but it could really use a little dollop of paint or two, don't you agree? Oh yeah, now this is more like it. I think red is such a good color because once we get gallons upon gallons of our enemy's blood all over it, we don't have to worry about washing it off. I haven't just been working on our power armor though, I've also been working on some of our weapons, like my minigun. As you can see, I've made more than a few upgrades to this bad bitch. And with that, let the conquest continue. We started making our way once more on the road, looking for rivals to butcher and to turn into mincemeat with my mighty axe. I'm sorry, do you hear something? Must have been the wind. Actually, it turns out it wasn't just the wind. It was a bunch of fools who were trying to shoot at me. I mean, have you seen me? Did you really think that was going to work? Now look at you. They appear to be guarding the entrance of some type of collapsed tunnel. Upon my arrival to this entranceway, there were no other raiders, though. On the contrary, there was an overabundance of feral ghouls. I think I'm starting to see why there were no other raiders in here. But as I would continue my journey through the tunnel system, and also after slaughtering many of these ghouls, I eventually did find one singular raider guarding the inside with a turret. I shot him in the head, and I destroyed his turret rather easily. It would seem, as of right now, these were the only defenses they had. Perhaps it's a new outpost they were trying to build. I would find yet another fusion core, though, and I could watch the little green sphincter turn gray. One of my favorite pastimes. Strangely, this tunnel led out right into some type of railway service station. I was quite confused as to where we were until I looked into the city's skyline and realized we were only a few feet away from being in the city limits of Boston, and thus the great green jewel of the Commonwealth, Diamond City. But on the outskirts, before you get to Diamond City's entrance, I noticed there seemed to be a fortified raider settlement. No doubt, these are the same band of fools who were trying to take over the tunnels. Well then, let's not waste any time, eh? Let's get this party started. First and foremost, I'd work on their automated defenses, and then I made my way to a rooftop so that I could take out a few more. Once their turrets were decommissioned, it was time to take on the raiders. Witnessing and heavily intimidated by my grand entrance from a rooftop, they were left shitting themselves, making them easy targets like shooting ducks in the water. After a few more mutilations, like a flash, it was already over. This settlement was completely cleared out and ripe for the taking. Our taking, that is. Obviously, we weren't clearing them out to save Diamond City. Quite the contrary, actually. Some of these areas, like the tunnel, I was hardly concerned with, but a nice settlement like this, quite literally just on the outskirts of the Green Jewel, oh, it was perfect. We immediately started setting up our own little makeshift camp and even brought down a handful of our people. We were going to populate this place a bit more than the other areas that we had taken over. The reason being, it's so, high traffic around these parts, if you know what I mean. I'm thinking that we might start robbing a few caravans coming in and out of the largest settlement this side of the Commonwealth. Maybe we grease the palms of the mayor. Word has it, he's already a bit of a shady fellow. And once we do that, he'll start turning a blind eye to a few missing caravans here and there. And just like that, we've already set ourselves up for yet another industrious takeover. One that will keep the flow of caps and resources into our greasy little palms for a very long time. But Boston's a big place, and there's a lot more areas for the taking. For example, this unoccupied super mutant camp. Well, there are super mutants here, but I mean unoccupied by anyone important. These lumbering green mutants are much stronger than average raiders. Oh, how I wish they were so intelligent that I could recruit some of them, but alas, I'll have to slaughter them along with all the folks down in Hangman's Alley. Places like this in Boston are a small pocket of raider chaos, and I absolutely love it. The only problem is I need my own raiders in here. You understand, right, fellas? You know what? Come to think of it, I don't really think it matters if you understand. And just like that, we've taken over Hangman's Alley and cleared out any of those super mutant enemies just a few feet away down the street. What we've done in one day, these poor fools couldn't do in years. Slowly but surely, we would end up shaping Hangman's Alley up properly. We didn't really have to do too much work, as they had already built plenty of little wooden huts for us to use after killing them. But we could fill it up quicker by using a settlement recruitment beacon, so that was cool. Just added to the ever-growing list of settlements now under my thumb. Speaking of, I think it's about time we added a few more settlements to that list. I found yet another raider gang here, a bit of a smaller one at some apartment buildings, and I started an immense slaughter that the likes of Boston had never seen before, and might never see again. I eventually found their leader, going by the name of Clutter, hole up inside these apartments, and I cut her in half with my axe. She didn't know what to do when she came into contact with a real leader. Surprisingly, her followers were loyal till the very end. Such a shame I could use some of that with my own people, but alas. Once I finished off the folks here in the apartments, I stepped outside to begin finishing off some super mutants, as well as a few more other raiders that were holed up here in the alleyway. Every single place you turn around here, every crevice and corner seems to have mutants or a raider gang in it. My kind of place, quite literally. Now, as this is my alleyway and my section of the city, so don't mind if I do. Yeah, you know, you get the gist. I set up yet another little camp here for my people to take this part of the city. I set up turrets, I set up some shacks and a fire, yada yada. Moving on, I kept picking up a radio broadcast on my Power Armor's network about a Trinity Tower. I eventually pinpointed the radio broadcast and located said tower. This big behemoth was no doubt chock full of super mutants, but strategically, this tower would give us a vantage point within the city like no other. We had to take it. I and my companions immediately began making our way up inside. The entire place was full of human meat and blood bags. Once we finally made our way to the higher levels, we began seeing our jolly green inhabitants, putting them down like the rabid mutts that they were. Killing these mutants was truly a piece of cake. The only problem that we were facing is that their blood and guts is really starting to gunk up all the joints of my power armor. We slaughtered our way to the main top of the tower, where we found their leader, going by the name of Fist and wielding a minigun. The dumb bastard had his back turned to me. What a foolish mistake. With my axe, I chipped away at his armor, and then with my fist, I finished the job. Now then, let's get the trash off my newly acquired roof. If you're waiting for him to hit the ground, you might be waiting a while. He had a couple prisoners up here, a human by the name of Rex Goodman, who we quickly freed, and also a super mutant going by the name of Strong, who seems to have some type of human-like intellect. Perhaps I'll have that super mutant raider after all.
If you'll excuse me, I think it's time I left this awful place.
Yes, I'll honor my promise.
Good. Strong travel with human.
I let Rex go because I have no use for a frail little broadcaster man, but Strong, on the other hand, I tricked him into joining us. I told him something about human milk or something. He was pretty eager. As for Trinity Tower, you already know that we've taken it for ourselves. Not only is it going to be a perfect vantage point, as mentioned and as we hoped, but also being able to broadcast our recruitment signals here? Oh, mama. It would seem that we're about to have a huge influx of recruits and manpower. With all these new Bostonian assets and territories under our belt and thumb, I think it's time that we head back to our capital at the farm. That way we can start managing things. First things first, though, we had to equip our new super mutant raider Strong here with some proper scrap metal armor and his very own minigun from his old captor. Looking good, my gigantic killing machine friendo. Looking good. We've accomplished a lot today. We've taken a vast majority of Boston. We now have an overabundance of manpower trickling into our cause, an overabundance of caps and resources, but there is still the wider wasteland to take for ourselves. Settlements much like our farm city here that would otherwise be completely useless without our hostile takeovers. Emphasis on the hostile. And once we take them, then we have truly become a raider empire, and I can sit atop my throne here in the capital and look down upon it all with satiated eyes. As for right now, though, I'm starving for more. Hey there, the name's Sheldon. I am a Raider King. Some of you may remember me, some of you may just be meeting me for the first time. Either way, I'd say you're awful lucky there, friendo. I and my crew have built one of the largest raider cities this side of the Wasteland. It used to be some old farm or something like that. To be honest with you, it's been so long ago, I really can't remember the jobs and the purpose of the people who used to live here. But I did kill them, and I guess that's the important part for our conversation. Yes, indeed, though, thanks to me, my expertise, and a little bit of elbow grease, we have turned this place into the pinnacle of organized crime and debauchery. Now, I know it's been a minute since we've seen each other, so how about a bit of a refresher? Last episode, we finally started taking territory for ourselves. One of the first and most important of these conquerings was the Corvega plant, supplying us with plenty of steel, aluminum, and other metallic resources that are crucial to our operation. It also means that we own Lexington. We've also started our journey into taking many gunner settlements as well, like the junction here of the bridges that control a lot of the traffic coming towards the north. And perhaps the bulk of what we did last episode was start taking out a variety of scattered raider gangs all throughout Boston, taking their territories, their settlements, and their businesses for ourselves. So much so, in fact, that I would consider most other raider gangs small potatoes at this point. Now, I'm still going to kill them, of course, if I come across them, but I think you get what I mean. And perhaps the most important accomplishment to date, we took over the airways of Trinity Tower, turning it into a huge raider recruitment beacon, which has recently caused a massive surge in our numbers. But alas, even with all this, my hunger for power continues. What do you think, Pet Cricket? Is it time for some slaughtering? Oh yes, I thought you might say that, old friend. Alright then, let's jumpstart the old power armor, gather up Strong and the others, and be on our way. Wait a minute. We never did give our other companion a name. She's been with us for so long at this point. Luckily, our friend X-Explosive L has a name for her. Guy. That one guy, but Guy for short. That'll work. Alright, back to business. One of the first places that we're going to be, air quotes, conquering is the Wicked Shipping Fleet lockup yard right next to our city. Now really, we've owned it for quite a while, but nobody ever ventured over here due to the feral ghouls. It would seem some of my gang members are massive But me? Not so much. Once I came in, cut up all the feral ghouls into little pieces, they were no longer a threat, and we could use this place as a proper storage facility for all those metallic resources we're getting from the Corvega plant, or really, whenever we so choose, of course. I'm only going to be stationing a very small handful of my soldiers here because I don't want to overextend myself. With our great big takeover in Boston, we really need more numbers down there. And besides, if we're only going to be using this place as storage, it's not that big of a deal. We also do have a Protectron here that I hacked and used as a security bot, so everything should be hunky-dory. I named him Lemon because of his yellow color and also because he's a bit of a piece of junk. Regardless though, he and the others will now serve as a security force for our warehouse and as a first line of defense and notification if the city is going to be attacked from the west. So all in all, pretty useful. But that's boring. You want to see something interesting. Let us continue, shall we? Our real conquest this episode's going to continue where I find some other raiders out on a bridge. Looks like they've been scattered since I've taken out the main group. Hard to say whose crew they were a part of, but best I dispatch of them either way. I started the party with a bit of sniping, and then I turned Strong loose with his minigun. I was so excited to see how well he'd do with it, but he got a little carried away and whipped out the sledgehammer, cracking skulls like a melon. Unlike Strong, though, these raiders actually had some super mutant companions who were much less civilized. I handled them accordingly. And then we would continue on our journey south, destroying anything in our path and taking it for ourselves. As pointed out by our friend Yuyani_K, taking over the gunners' bases is an ample idea and would give us a great advantage against all foes. And also pointed out by our friend Capo Fisk, Gunner Plaza would give us the range for radio broadcast of our recruitment beacon. And in my opinion, that is the perfect way to finish off our empire, to truly solidify ourselves as the powerhouse of the Wasteland, and the perfect way to finish this series. So it begins. Some prime real estate that the gunners are just occupying for a temporary period of time. Time for us to suck it up like a blob. I'm gonna eat their hearts like a tin of cram. I started off with their pathetic automated defenses, and then I started with them themselves. Most of them didn't even have shirts on. Did they really think they stood a chance against me, a walking bulldozer with a shotgun attached? I think not, little fellow. Well then, I suppose that takes care of that. Easier than I expected. I would guess that our efforts recently of already taking out gunners' settlements in prior videos has led to some deficiencies in their ranks. Nevertheless, I don't really care about their manpower, I just care about these sweet settlements that they're leaving behind in their abrupt absence at the end of our rifles. Yet another strategic vantage point captured and added to our empire and repertoire of these bases. For obvious reasons, a settlement like this will require a good bit of our own manpower, and thus I will be forking over a decent bit of our soldiers to guard it and to man it. Again though, not to beat a dead horse, but thanks to our recruitment beacon at Trinity Tower, I don't think manning places like this is ever going to be an issue again. This is great. I'm having a blast. Let's keep going. Not too far away, I found a relay tower, and though it is tiny and somewhat insignificant, I would go ahead and set it up with our recruitment signal as well. A couple more of these, and we'll basically already be covering the entire Wasteland, except a little bit further to the south, around Gunner Plaza. After setting up the relay tower, though, I began making my way a bit further to the east. It was at this point that I encountered what appeared to be a caravan. Not paying their taxes to the Raider Empire. Probably some of those hippie sissies who are always saying, oh, taxation is theft. I'll show you theft. Alright, maybe a little bit dramatic for one caravan not paying taxes, and to be fair, I didn't ask them if they would pay their taxes, and okay, to even be more fair, they probably didn't know they had to. But now we got all the stuff from the caravan. That's pretty cool. Next to where we took out the caravan, though, was our true target, the National Guard Recruitment Office and Armory. No doubt most of the good stuff has been looted long ago, but word has it there's a pack of feral ghouls inside this fortification, and I'd like to have it for myself. I started by taking out some of these turrets someone left behind. It must be pretty bad if they couldn't even bring them with them. And on the inside, I would encounter the pack of ghouls, chopping them in half, and Pet Cricket would nibble on their bones, that sort of thing. Upstairs, with my axe in hand, I would also encounter a glowing one. You must be the alpha of the group. Or you were, that is. Truly, the most dangerous defense of this place we found was a gigantic sentry bot out back who was putting up a hell of a fight. Take this as a lesson. The relics of the past will bend to the will of the Raider King and his empire, or they'll be left in the ashes. Now then, with all the bad people and bad things gone from the armory, we could check out some of the armor and weapons that were here. Armor we were kind of lacking, but there were plenty of assault rifles as well as ammunition for them, and even a radium rifle. Now that's an interesting little find. And that was just the recruiting office. The real treasures were within the armory. Plenty of ammunition, grenades, and mines to arm all of our gang and soldiers. There was a set of power armor in here that was T60. We had some scavenger power armor out back, and even more locked away behind a security gate. Plenty to share. Now, I'm not a skillful locksmith, so I suppose one of my men will need to cut it with a torch. Obviously, though, before we could call the National Guard place here our own, we would need some pretty major improvements, which would require us to do a lot of building and to do a lot of manpower movement over to this area. Lucky for you, you don't have to watch all that and you can see the finished product. This actually ended up being one of our largest settlements to date. We are going to have plenty of weapons and armor stored here for the Empire. The city is more of a residential area with businesses and other things. Of course, we have stockpiles of ammo there, but having a specific place to put it all is much better, I think. Besides, it also wouldn't hurt to have a proper place to train some of these people. Most of them are farmers and settlers looking to make a good few caps as a raider. And they couldn't hit the broadside of a Brahmin with a pipe rifle. Ah, another feather in my cap, as they say, another stone in my wall, another bullet for my rifle. This place is going to be wonderful, mark my words. I've even built myself a power armor garage out back for my personal storage of them, since I have so many now for our men to work on and to use if they need to. Speaking of which, as much as I love Old Red here, that's what I call my power armor, I think it's time for some improvements. Ooh. Don't that T60 just shine? That's right, baby. No more junky scrap metal armor. I'm moving on up in the world. It ain't much, but it's a nice addition, and it can take a lot more of a hit. It would come in mighty handy when I met some slimy jet peddlers on a bridge during my travels. No wonder my men have been too high to rob caravans lately. I handled them accordingly.
Sorry, not interested.
That's how it's done, boys.
And even more handy when I found yet another gunner base to take over. It's about damn time. I was starting to get bored from no action. And oh boy, let me tell you, did I find some action. Yes, that is an Assaultron. Hello. Needless to say, it wasn't exactly pleased with our presence. Yeah, well, I'm not exactly pleased with your metal ass being in my new settlement, you son of a bitch. Thank you for your cooperation, dumbass. I found a couple more gunners, street level. One of them appeared to be a sergeant. Looks like you fellas were a little bit late for the party. I've killed all your friends, and now you're next. Well, that was fun and extremely productive. Yet another of these gunner bases that we've managed to commandeer and to rebuild for our own men. This one even had its own communication satellite connected directly to Gunner's Plaza. Perfect, because that is exactly where we're headed next. Well, after a little pit stop back home. Alas, a king's work is never done. As bad as I wish I could stay out on the road killing folks for days on end, as I have been already, I must come back to my office to take care of some business around the city. Like the issue that it's not quite large enough anymore. We're not a little podunk raider gang as we were previously. Our capital needs to expand with our empire and with our population, which has been increasing exponentially. And so, as such, we are going to be adding a gigantic residential kind of slum area on the outer walls of our city. Yes, indeed. When you come to the capital and the king with an issue, I will do my best to accommodate you with the the finest of wooden shacks that I have at my disposal. I remember at one point in previous episodes I had said that we were going to be the size of Diamond City in a few years. Well, I was wrong. It only took a few months. Look at the size of our capital now. Diamond City, eat your heart out. Now, if any of you think I'm wrong, just look at this photo of Diamond City. You're telling me we don't have a larger population and a larger city overall? I would say that you're lying. Now, is the quality of life here maybe not as great? Mind your own fucking business. Moving right along though, now that we've taken care of the issues within the city, it's time for us to start prepping to take out Gunner's Plaza and to take it for ourselves. Starting off, we're going to be building ourselves a couple of deployable machine gun turrets. We can throw them down and pick them up at a moment's notice, making them perfect for conquest combat. Using all the materials that we've gotten from all the new places that we've taken over as well, I'm also going to be making some pretty major upgrades to my own weaponry, my personal rifles, giving them hardened receivers, allowing them to use better ammunition, better stocks on them, yada yada yada. I'm just making them all better overall, and I do mean all of them, including, but not limited to, my own missile launcher. I haven't really got to play around with this bad boy any, and I'm an eager beaver. I won't be going alone, but I also won't be taking an entire army. I can't afford to spread myself that thin, so I have acquired a squad, comprised of course of myself, Strong, and even Guy, now wearing her own set of power armor. I have so many to spare, I might as well share. We also have a couple other nameless raiders tagging along, but who cares? As we were headed for the south, we started to make a little stop in at a nearby radio station. This entire episode you've seen me taking over radio broadcast. I think you know why I'm here. Rex Goodman, on the other hand, didn't exactly know what I was doing here. He had heard of me, of course, but why would I be at his radio station? Don't you dare play stupid with me, Rex. Hey, where are you going? Luckily, since I'm the one that freed Rex and Strong from Trinity Tower, originally he was willing to cooperate with me. Phew, thank God. I was worried that was going to get ugly, Rex. Now do your job. Presto murdero. Just like that, we have yet another tower under our control. I think that's probably enough radio towers, and it's time for us to truly move on to the plaza. Hello, hello. Oh, how I can't wait for this place to be ours. The tower and its satellite dishes sit atop the building like a beautiful bow atop a Christmas present, just waiting on me to come in with my posse of thugs and murderers and unwrap it. Well, I couldn't bear the excitement any longer, and I started to come towards the gunners, and I started shooting them and killing them. They appear to also be in a bit of a fight with some caravan folk, and I'll be robbing them shortly after. For the time being, though, I have much bigger fish to fry. The crew and I would make our way inside, and we started taking out the gunners' turrets, as well as slaughtering their men guarding the internal portions of the building. So close quarters, so much blood, so many body parts flying, skull fragments hitting the visor of my armor. this is where the fun was. We continued clearing out the facility, but some of the gunners had really dug in deep and had us pinned down at a hallway. Thanks to our deployable turrets, though, we could get some ample cover fire, giving us enough time to reload and recharge a bit before ultimately taking them out. Thankfully, Strong and I had both packed our miniguns, easily shredding our enemies. Ah, come little turret, there are more souls to reap upstairs. This truly must be the main base of the gunners here in the Commonwealth, as I found many soldiers, obviously, but also corporals and sergeants, too. I also butchered all of them, rightfully so. With the attack completed upstairs, I found a gentleman who went by the name of Cruz. Ah, you must have been the commanding officer. Word has it there is another who leads this sorry-ass outfit, but Cruz, old buddy, old pal, if I could be honest with you, I don't really care. I think you're enough. I didn't come here for you anyways, I came here for the Plaza. I heard some mice down in the basement, so I went to check things out, where we would find his cohort rider, who, along with his own crew, would be killed. Ah, it would seem we've finally taken the Plaza for ourselves, and we've even managed to cripple the hierarchy of the gunners while doing so. A win-win. On the roof we spotted yet another generator, but instead of ripping out the fusion core and watching the little green sphincter turn gray, we'll be leaving it to stay powered. The reason being, it is powering one of the most powerful relays in the entire Wasteland, similar to that of the Trinity Tower. You already know that, of course, but I just wanted to explain why I'm not taking out the core so I could see the little gray sphincter. Such a shame. Anywho, you know the drill by this point. We have the Plaza. The Plaza is in absolute ruins and is littered with the corpses of all of our enemies, and we need to fix that. So we did. Oh yeah, we prettied her up real nice. And we added in some alternative power sources up top with some windmills. We added some housing off to the western side of the building, added plenty of defenses, and basically we just really shaped the place up for all of our men. I would call this a huge milestone in our empire, but to be honest with you, I think that it is one of the last final bricks in the wall. I'm not very good at analogies, but I think you know what I mean. We now control one of the greatest radio towers in the entire Wasteland. And as such, it's time that we start broadcasting, especially to all these unincorporated communities that think that someone's going to come and help them, like the Minutemen. Oh no. All folks of the Commonwealth, Minutemen are gone. They've been gone for years. The gunners, crippled. The other raiders, destroyed. Incorporated into my community, as you all shall be. I'm afraid you have no choice in the matter. The only choice you have is how much force I have to use. Your new God King, signing off. That's a good start, I'd say. Now then, let's start making some rounds in person. I headed over to Diamond City, where the good mayor was explaining to the good people about our new deal that we've struck. I'll be taking a 30% cut of all caps flowing in and out of the city, and they'll be sending 25% of all their food and resources to my capital city. In exchange, I offer them protection and restraint. Let me tell you, that's a much better deal than I offer to most. With that though, my friends, I think we have officially conquered the Wasteland. And I want to thank you for staying with me on this journey. It's been a lot of fun, and it's been a killer time, pun intended of course, but I must bid you farewell. Our capital and our empire will still continue to grow. Today it's the Wasteland, and who knows? Maybe tomorrow it's Nuka World. I suppose we'll just have to find out. Another time. Love you. Bye.